Hello friends, I am Dr. Suchita Vishwakarma, Assistant Professor from Department of Management, School of Management Sciences, Lucknow, and welcome you all to the series of lectures on supply chain and logistics management. Today we are going to discuss about a topic that is called supply chain sustainability. Students, in all our previous lectures we have discussed in detail about supply chain and its various concepts. Now, over here it is very important to understand that how supply chain can be converted into a sustainable supply chain, and we need to understand that what is the concept of sustainability and how an organization gets benefited by the application of sustainability concepts in its supply chain and other activities as well. So, let us get started with it. So, looking at the theoretical definitions of sustainability, sustainability is an emotionally charged word that means different things to many people, but as per Webster's dictionary, if you see, sustainability is the ability to keep in existence or maintain. So, when actually we are talking about sustainability, we actually means that the particular activity or the particular part of the organization or whatever it be, it should, when we are talking about its sustainability, we say that it should be in continuation for years, and by utilizing the resources which are there, and it should work in a manner that it should not have any harmful or any kind of disastrous impact on the environment, and not even on the society as well, that means the people also, and it basically has certain such practices that it helps the organization to increase its livelihood in the society for years. So, a sustainable firm is one that is able to produce and deliver its goods and services for the foreseeable future without causing any degradation of the environment or the society. So, when we are talking about sustainable firm, we should not get it confused with the green firm, because green firm talks about only one of the aspects, that is the environmental factors. While when we are talking about the sustainability concept, we are not only limiting ourselves to the green aspects, we are enhancing or extending our horizons to few more things, and that will be discussed in this particular lecture today. So, what do we mean by sustainable supply chain? The supply chain sustainability is the management of environmental, social and economic impact, and the encouragement of good governance practices throughout the life cycle of goods and services. So, as I said that we should not confuse with the green supply chain. In a sustainable supply chain, the purview of the organization extends beyond the green concept, and it extends to economic and social concepts also. That means, when an organization is actually operating in the society, they are utilizing the resources not only from the environment, but they are also utilizing lot of other human resources and do have an impact overall on the society in its economic terms, in terms of providing opportunity for employment, in terms of the well-being of the society, in terms of well-being of its own employees, and so on. So, a sustainable organization must take care that it adheres to such practices that all the people who are indirectly or directly associated with the organization all are able to work properly with proper livelihood, not only in terms of money, but also in terms of environment, in terms of their health, and so, and simultaneously the organization is generating profit not only for itself, but for the overall society also. So, that is the complete concept of sustainability. So, now the objective of sustainable supply chain is to create and protect as well as grow long term environmental, social and economic values to all its stakeholders involved in the bringing of product and service to the market. So, over here you may ask me that who are stakeholders? So, stakeholders are any kind of body or organization which are directly or indirectly associated with the organization. So, when we are talking about stakeholders, we do mean the owners of the organization, we do also mean the employees, the customers, the competitors, the distributors, the vendors, and even the government. That means all the, and not to forget about the society, the local society also of the organization, because all of them are directly or indirectly getting impacted by the organization's practices. So, through sustainable supply chain, companies protect and have a long term viability of the businesses and secure a social license to operate. That means when an organization is operating sustainably, when they are utilizing the resource in an optimal manner, when they are not wasting the natural environment's resources, and when they are providing due opportunity to the society also to grow and to survive in peace and harmony, then actually that brings a lot of goodwill to the organization as well. So, over here we understand that sustainability is one concept which has a long term impact on the organization in bringing the goodwill, in bringing brand loyalty to among the customers, in helping the organization sustain for quite long. So, over here we need to understand the sustainable supply chain through a diagram which has been adapted from Carter and Rogers study in 2008, and according to this particular diagram is you can over here see that any organization basically takes in whatever practices that an organization conducts, it aims to have performances in different dimensions. So, the first dimension that any organization looks forward is the economic performance, that is how much income they are generating, how much revenue, how much sales, what is the GDP, what is their contribution, to self, what is their contribution to the government, what is the contribution to their how much they are able to generate revenue in terms of per person, per employee kind of, or so kind of this. So, this is what is called economic performance. Then nowadays with coming of lot of governmental regulations regarding the environmental aspects, the companies have become very aware, and now they have also started adopting practices whereby they can reduce their impact, hazards, their impact on the environment, and where they can they are able to control on their carbon footprints. And so, companies are also adopting measures to check their environmental performance. So, when we talk about environmental performances, we talk about the amount of emissions to the environment. It may be in the form of water emissions or air emissions or kind of things, and then we are also talking about the total carbon footprint that they are producing and such kind of things. So, nowadays companies are also very much aware and keeping a check on the environmental performance. But in case of sustainable supply chain, we also talk about the social performance, that how much an organization is able to do good for the society. And when we are talking about society, it does not only mean the local community, it means a broader scale. We talk about the employees as well, we talk about the local community, we talk about the world at large as well. So, the aim of the organization, sustainable organization, should be such that they are able to do good or provide sufficient opportunities and provide such goods and services that are good for the society as at a large. So, when we are talking about these three things, all the organizations are trying to achieve this and on their different parameters, but sustainability comes when the organization is having a combination of all these three parameters. That means, this particular subset, if you see where the economic performance, social performance and environmental performance is overlapping, there we find the concept of sustainability, and that is what is called sustainable supply chain. So, any organization which is adapting to the practices or adopting the practices of sustainable supply chain must adhere to all these three concepts of environmental performance, social performance and economic performance. Now, over here it is also important for you to understand that any organization, when actually tries to adopt all these three practices, then they adopt the triple bottom line approach, and triple bottom line approach as per economics believes that the company should commit to focus on social, environmental and environmental concerns to earn the profit. So, their main motive is to combine the concepts of people plus planet, which will lead to social upbringing and environmental responsibility. So, any organization which wants to be sustainable for long must follow this triple bottom line approach and must adhere to this concept of triple P. So, let us over here understand the triple bottom approach line and the how an organization tries to measure itself under these three parameters, that is economic measure, environmental measure and social measures. So, under economic measure, as you can see that organization tries to evaluate itself on various factors like personal income, cost of underemployment, establishment churn, establishment sizes, job growth, employment distribution by sector, percentage of firms in each sector and revenue by sector contributing to gross state product. So, this basically means that the organization tries to keep a check that how much income they are generating per employee wise and how much income contribution do they have in the society as well. And obviously the organizations know very well that if the people will be left underemployed, then obviously that will have a greater impact, that the consumption behavior will get disturbed and the people will not purchase the products of the particular company as well as will not purchase the products of other companies also, and that will have a greater impact on the GDP of the country and overall consumerism behavior. Then establishment churn and size basically means that how much is the turnaround ratio of the organization and what is the size of the organization, whether the organization is providing a lot of growth opportunities not only in terms of career progression but also in terms of the number of employments that they are providing to the society. Then obviously the organizations also try to check their contribution in terms of the presence in the sectors and how much revenue they are generating and so on. Under environmental measures, if you see the organizations are again concerned about the emissions, as I said previously. So, under emissions you can see that the organizations do take care of a proper check of the various kind of emissions like the sulfur dioxide concentration of nitrogen oxides, selected priority pollutants which are very hazardous nature, excessive nutrients, how much nutrients they are absorbing from the society, and what can be the long term impact of those, the kind of consumptions they have in terms of electricity and fossil fuel, how they are managing up their waste and all. The waste could be in the form of solid waste or the hazardous waste, and then obviously change in land and land cover. That means if the organization is existing somewhere, they are obviously using that particular land, and the quality of land and topsoil may get degraded because of the existence of the particular organization. So, what is the kind of impact that they are having, and how they can further redo things to control or have a minimal effect on the environment. Coming to the third dimension, that is the social measure, the organization keeps a check on the unemployment rate. Obviously, as I said previously, that underemployment has a lot of long term negative impact. Then female labor force participation, obviously every country wants to provide equal opportunity to males and females. So, whether the organization is providing opportunities to females also or not. Then median household income, what is the income contribution, what is the median income that the society has, and how they are able to improve the livelihood or the life standards of the people. Relative poverty, whether with the existence of the organization whether the poverty level has improved or not. Then the percentage of population with a post secondary degree or certification, average commute time, violent crimes per capita, health and life expectancy. So, these are the various social measures on which the organization tries to keep a check and tries to also work in the specific or certain areas so as to improve the social class, social upliftment towards the social upliftment too. So, the basic aim of triple bottom line is for an organization is to answer different types of questions under all these areas. So, which includes that does the firm provide safe working environment, appropriate compensation benefits to its employees? Does the firm avoid child labor, forced labor or discrimination in hiring or promotion? Does the firm have positive contribution to the community in which it is located? Can the firm avoid depleting resources, prevent pollutions? How is the product able to be reused, recycled or ultimately disposed of? Can the total cost of ownership be reduced? And then is the firm profitable? Can the firm be expected to grow and prosper in long term? And a firm deficient in these three facets are considered to be those who cannot basically sustain in long. So, let us also understand the need of sustainability. The need of sustainability is to ensure the to ensure the compliance with the laws and on regulations of the government. So, basically there are a lot of rules and regulations, and the government is continuously putting a lot of pressure on all kind of organizations to provide a uniform platform to all the people of the society, to put to not to use any kind of pressure, to not to use any kind of scarce resources of the environment, and to do a sufficient amount of contribution towards the I mean GDP, that means the growth of the country as well. So, that is one of the reasons why companies today are moving towards sustainable supply chain. The other reasons are to adhere and support international principles for sustainable business. Overall, the according to the Supply Chain Council other international bodies also, there is a lot of pressure on all the companies to provide operate sustainably, so that they can reduce the cost and improve the efficiency. The society and its stakeholders expectation, all the people nowadays are becoming very aware, and all of the stakeholders do feel that the company should not exist only for taking resources from the society and environment, but should also have a philosophy of returning the same to the society and environment. And so, this is what is one of the reasons of having sustainable supply chain. Then lot of innovations are also coming, which is helping in sustainability concept. Brand enhancement, the company obviously gets lot of goodwill in long term, and which helps the organization to work for future. Then managing risk is also one of the reasons why companies are looking nowadays towards sustainability concept. Sustainability also leads to reduction of cost, overall cost, and reduction of wastage. So, overall if you see that all these reasons are directly or indirectly leading to the increase of profit of the organization. So, this becomes a major agenda of having sustainable supply chain. There are few issues also towards sustainability in supply chain, because there are certain activities, there are various activities which are within the supply chain system, and which leads to which creates as a challenge to have a sustainable supply chain. So, the few of the major issues are the product design, the product return, the length of product cycle. That means, if the length of product cycle is too short, then obviously there is a chance that the product has to be sent to the distribution and then recalled back, or maybe a new product has to be launched again and again. So, that is also one of the challenge of sustainability. Extension of product life cycle, end of life disposal, packaging, source reduction, recycling, material substitution, waste disposal, refurbishing, repair, and remanufacturing. So, these are the various aspects. That means, when the organization is forced to manufacture products again and again in different sizes, and when they are expected to call back certain products, and when they are expected to provide reverse logistics also. So, these are the various reasons which creates which emerges as a challenge towards sustainability. But then we have few major drivers also, and the drivers includes the three drivers, that is the managing business risk, realizing efficiencies, creating sustainable products. So, managing business risk basically means that the organization should always aim towards reducing the risk that they have in terms of disruption from environment, social and economic impacts, and then also protect the company from the misrepresentation or or rather wrong positioning also. And so, they should try to avoid the risk in not only in terms of their image, but also in terms of financial risk or any other sudden kind of risk. Then the company should also focus on realizing efficiencies. That means, they should try to have a optimum take from the society. They should not embark into or encroach or in the future resources. That means, those resources which should be rather available for the future, they should not encroach into. They should optimize the resource utilization, and they should take care that they are using the alternate resources alternate resources, so that the resources are available for the future generations to and then they should also focus on creating sustainable products. Sustainable products basically means those products which are not hazardous not only for the environment, but are also bringing a sense of happiness to the people. So, let us understand the drivers of supply chain in more detail. So, the drivers basically includes, as I discussed, the managing risk. Companies can protect themselves from potential supply chain interruption of delays associated with supply chain, human rights, labor, environment and government practices by ensuring suppliers have compliance program. Then realizing efficiencies basically means that the focus of realizing efficiency in supply chain can reduce our company's supply cost with reducing the environment's footprints, and should be using energy, water, natural resources in such a manner that they are able to improve the workers' health and motivation. And then creating sustainability basically means that the product collaboration with the suppliers on sustainability can foster them to have more of innovations. So, when an organization basically looks forward to convert their supply chain into sustainable supply chain, they should adopt these 6 practices, that is commit, assess, define, implement, measure and communicate. And under these they should basically the commitment basically talks about that the organization should first build a vision and should have a clear cut vision and should have a commitment that they want to adopt these sustainable supply chain practices in long term, and they should try to identify the various approaches that they would be required to do. Then they should also assess themselves in terms of the weaknesses, strengths and the available resources that they have. Then they should clearly plan and define and implement the sustainable supply chain practices and the plan or the framework that they have designed, and that should not be only internal to the organization, that should also be in collaboration with the various partners and suppliers. And then obviously they are required to measure and communicate also, because unless and until they communicate the sustainable supply chain practices to the society will not understand, and the people who are associated, the partners also will not understand the importance and will not be able to work in alignment, and so they should communicate it. And then obviously the measurement is something very, very important, because unless until you measure it that how much sustainable you have been able to do to be by adoption of the practices, then obviously that will not lead to increase of motivation or morale of the people of the organizations. So, over here the major challenges in implementing sustainable supply chain are the lack of interest of the owners or the management, the competition. Because of the tough competition, the companies are under a lot of pressure of reducing the cost and providing fast delivery. So, that is also one of the reasons. Then uncertain return on investment. That means companies are not sure that whatever amount of investment they are going to put in adoption of sustainable supply chain practices, whether they will have a sufficient kind of returns or not, and they are in dilemma. Then limited resources. Many of the companies are have very limited access to the resources, limited suppliers, and so they are not able to negotiate that they want the suppliers also to get attached to this sustainable supply chain concept. Reluctance from suppliers and distributors is another facet to it. Financial concerns and no tools to measure. Obviously, the companies are very much concerned about the amount that they would be required to invest if they want to be sustainable, and whether this would lead to proper returns or not. So, at the end I would just like to share a quote from Chris Gopalakrishnan, the CEO and founder of Infosys, that we live in an increased resources aware and resources constrained world. We need to live within our means and not borrow from the future. To build a sustainable tomorrow, we need to make our supply chain more sustainable each day and every day. So, with this I would like to end up my lecture today. For detailed understanding, you may go to these references. Thank you.